Hey guys, welcome back. All right, let's go back through some of this news. A lot of this news, you guys have already seen most of this. A lot of the news right now just kind of keeps coming out, repeating the same thing. A special session next week to discuss the 2020 budget. And you know what, by the way, guys, a lot of you have taken the time to send me key things happening in Iraq. And I just, those of you that do send me stuff, I want to take the time to say thank you for doing that, okay? All right, so with this article, a special session next week to discuss the 2020 budget. Prime Minister Mustafa Kademi decided today, Tuesday, to hold a special session next week to discuss the 2020 budget law. Okay, Ahmed Mullah Talal said in a blog spot, Prime Minister Al-Kademi directs to hold a special session to discuss and approve the federal 2020 budget early next week. And remember, in previous articles, they said they need 2 weeks to approve it. Okay, so they're saying starting early next week, they'll start the approval process with Parliament. Okay, a member of the Parliamentary Finance Committee, Jamal Cougar, said Tuesday that the budget for the current year will come to light if it is sent from the council ministers, as it will be legislated because it will be very short. Regarding the 2021 budget, Cougar said in a statement that the 21 budget will be operational. As for the investment, it will be ink on paper because the government does not have sufficient funds. Okay, guys, now they're contradicting themselves. They're telling you that in one article that I just read to you in the last video, they said the 21 budget will be different than the rest and actually cover investments. This one's telling you it won't cover investments. Bullcrap. Remember, guys, the fiscal year for the 21 budget does not even start until April of next year. Oil, they just simply need to give enough time for oil prices to recover, okay, and be around $60 a barrel. In 6 months, oil will definitely, oil's around $45 right now, Brent oil. Oil will easily climb $15 a barrel over 6 months, okay? So don't worry about this. Article is more BS than anything, okay? He pointed out that the Ministry of Planning announced at the previous time that the job ranks amounting to 240,000 degrees will be transferred from the 2020 budget to the 2021 budget according to the mechanisms of deletion, creation, and retirement. He added that adding grades is possible, but does the government budget bear this matter? Here lies the question, adding that the 21 budget draft does not include a legal text that allows the government to borrow internally or externally. Oil prices have begun to recover globally, as well as the government's control on the revenue of a lot of outlets. For his part, member of the Finance Committee criticized the budget preparation mechanism, stating that they are still with the same typical vision and all procedures. Al-Wali hinted in a statement to the official newspaper that there are real grades close to the number announced by the Ministry of Planning, 240,000, indicating that these degrees can be available in the event that they complete the transactions of retirees and receive their rights. The arrival of the Ministers of Finance and Planning to Parliament. A short while ago, he arrived at the Representative Council. Minister of Finance Ali Amir Alawi and the Minister of Planning Khaled Nejm. Correspondent said that the Minister of Finance and Planning, that they arrived shortly before at Parliament. The presidency of the House of Representatives had agreed to direct an oral question to the Ministers of Planning and Finance submitted by MP Al-Dawari about the failure to reach reforms stipulated by the lending law, which gave the government 60 days after its approval to submit a paper to the House of Representatives that includes the reforms in the economic aspect. And as you guys know, the reforms themselves are post-rate change, so the reforms are literally waiting on the rate change, okay? But also the reforms are funded from a budget. So what I just told you is you will not see a rate change until you see a budget, okay? But they have to, in order for us to see a rate change, Iraq has to bring forth and approve and implement a budget. It's that simple. Okay, let's look at the next article. Talibani spokesman reveals the details of what the Kurdish delegation discussed in its first meeting in Baghdad. A spokesman for the vice president of the Kurdistan Regional Government, Talibani, revealed Tuesday the details of the Kurdish delegation discussed in its first meeting in the capital, Baghdad. Harami said in an interview, the delegation started the meeting and first met with Federal Minister Alawi, and after the delegation will have meetings with the Minister of Oil, Jabbar, and Prime Minister Kademi. He pointed out the indications are so far indicating that the delegation of the region has shown the Kurdistan region's preparations for great cooperation on the issue of oil revenues, the issue of border crossings, and other issues. He pointed out that it's been agreed to form main subsidiary committees whose task is to review all files related to oil and gas, border crossings, and the budget, and place them on the table and the two governments in Baghdad and Erbil for the sake of comprehensive agreement in accordance with the Constitution. Earlier this morning, Tuesday, a Kurdish delegation headed by the deputy of the regional government, Talabani, arrived in Baghdad to discuss outstanding issues between Baghdad and the region. Correspondent said that the Kurdish delegation headed by the vice president and regional government, Talabani, arrived Tuesday morning the capital in order to complete the round of talks between Erbil and Baghdad on many files, including budgets of the region. He added that the delegation includes the Minister of Finance and the Kurdistan regional government and the Minister of Planning and the cabinet chief, in addition to the Minister Region Shawani. One thing I want to tell you guys, well, actually scratch that, never mind, that's not valid, never mind, I'm not even going to share it. All right, the provincial government delegation began its meeting in Baghdad with the Minister of Finance and renews a pledge. The Kurdistan regional government delegation headed by Qubad Talabani, Deputy Prime Minister, held its first meeting on Tuesday with the high-ranking delegation from the federal government headed by the Prime Minister Alawi and the federal Prime Minister. Talabani spokesman said in a statement received by Shafak News that after the arrival of the Kurdistan region delegation to Baghdad and before noon today, the first expanded meeting was held between the two delegations on the outstanding issues, especially with regard to the region's financial dues and how to fix them in the draft fiscal budget for 21. He explained that during the meeting, it was decided to form specialized and subsidiary committees to intensify discussions on issues oil and gas, financial dues, electricity, border crossings, and debts. Harami added that it is expected these committees will present their observations, reviews, discussions in light of the constitutional paragraphs and articles and the two delegations in order for them to reach an agreement between them. He indicated that the Kurdistan regional government has expressed its willingness to agree with the federal government regarding the files of non-oil revenues and the revenues of border crossings. So there you go. The Kurdistan regional government is now back in Baghdad, and they are working on resolving their differences with their end goal of reaching that comprehensive agreement. So as you guys see, they're working on the comprehensive agreement at this time. Al-Kazemi directs to hold a special session to approve the budget law. Shafak News, Dalal for Prime Minister Kademi announced that the latter had directed to hold a special session to discuss and approve the 2020 federal budget. Malal said in a tweet that the session will take place at the beginning of next week. The budget for the remainder of the year 2020, remember, 10/1 starts the second half of their fiscal year. Okay, the head of the parliamentary committee, Jaburi, also revealed to Shafak News that the budget will be limited to the months of September, October, and December. That's BS, guys. Remember, when Shabibi was the central bank governor, he very clearly told us they could only change the rate at the beginning or middle of the year. And the reason why Iraq has transitioned back to their former fiscal year of April through March is simply because they have now fulfilled all their obligations to exit and be removed from the Chapter 7 sanctions. That's why they are allowed to transition back to their former preferred fiscal year of April through March. But again, September ends the first half. 10/1 starts the second half of their new fiscal period, okay, for this year of 2020. Iraq has not passed the federal budget law. That's because it's waiting on the rate change for the current year as a result of the protest crisis since October of 2019 and toppled the previous government. So yeah, as you guys know, it's very simple, cut and dry. Iraq has hid the budget from you because it's waiting on the rate change. There you go. So hey guys, they're talking about doing the budget early next week for 2020. Submitting it to Parliament to start the approval process. You guys are the best. Have a great day.